What is going on, guys? It is Adam aka Marf. Tonight we're going to talk about a ton of stuff in a short amount of time, including all of the Chinese surveillance products being pulled from major markets, and a billionaire saying that real unrest will happen because of an energy crisis that is yet to be seen. So we'll talk about that and more when we get back. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today we have a ton to go over, so just to remind you, if you are new here, remember, you can actually follow along on our website. If you go to marfooglenews.com, you will see that we have backed up every single article, tweet, video, document, picture that we show you here today will be on our website. Now, when you go over, you will look, it is easy to navigate by thumbnail. Their progress is stunning. Strike first. The window is closing. Now, when you click on this, you will get to every single link, every single source for today's show. That way you know exactly where you are getting your stories from. And then, of course, on the right side, if you do want to support us in any way, or if you want to do a PayPal during the show to have it read out loud, that all helps us here at the show grow and expand. And then, of course, down at the bottom, there is a yellow bar. Once you hit that, you are in the web-only content. Careful, there's triggers down there, and of course, there is also a lot of crazy stuff going on. Now, that's stuff that's basically too hot for TV, stuff that basically no one will cover. Anyways, let's bring in Dex, my internet brother slash the best man at my virtual wedding, which I'm trying to come up with some cool name. But Dex, how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. You know I'm doing just fine.
So Dex is going to be on the phone tonight. Again, it is a call-in show tonight. The number is 2244-00-MARF. That's, again, 2244-006273. If you do want to get in, you would need to get in early. Again, that is 2244-006273. And then once you get to our phone tree, you will press option 4. That will get you live to Dex, of course, if he's open. So we have a ton to go over, including a solar storm. We have a very obvious sign that things are going even worse with China. Again, I've been saying this for at least a year and a half, if not 3 years. I mean, 3 years I was saying it, but about a year and a half ago, that's when it really started becoming apparent, what was actually happening. Again, let's get into the news. We've got Facebook just revealed its new name, Meta. Now, a lot of people are commenting about this. Of course, what was trending on Twitter today was delete Facebook. And I'm surprised they didn't say delete Facebook and don't download Meta, because that's what's going to happen. I think that Facebook is so jaded. Obviously, they have their name has popped up several times this year, including in whistleblowers' mouths, talking about how bad they were and how bad their algorithms were and how much they pushed basically people that were already mentally ill into even further depression. And if you were depressed, it would make you more depressed. If you were angry, it would make you more angry. What's funny is it would ban stuff, but at the same time, the stuff that wasn't banned, it would push hard on both directions. I know that, like, I know family members that are on both sides of the aisle, and it would just push them the most extreme stuff on both sides. And I was just really surprised. Like, I lean one direction, and I was like, whoa, that's like really nuts. That's like stuff that we would say, get that out of here. Like, that's BS. And they would just keep pushing it and pushing it. If you were, say, anemic or you had a eating disorder, Facebook would push it. Facebook would help you be that. There was a lot of really gross things that came out from that whistleblower, allegedly, supposedly, right? And then magically, they shut down. Facebook and Instagram had a downage or an outage for over 6 hours and lost millions of dollars. I think it was $6.66 billion or something like that because of their outage. And mysteriously, people said that the code, that there was stuff missing, like things were deleted. Kind of funny. Like maybe I don't know. Maybe they were getting rid of stuff that didn't look good if anybody dug deeper. Either way, they did that, and obviously you have a bunch of people talking about them. They, of course, have already kind of been jaded by this new generation. Generation Z does not touch Facebook. In fact, it's all older folks my age and older that are on Facebook. My generation was kind of the last one that was really, really on it. Like, all of us were on it at one point, and then it kind of faded out. Facebook for the kids today is like a MySpace for us. Like, it's not cool. Nobody's on it. High school kids, think of it as a joke. So they're changing it to Meta. They're trying to bring in this virtual reality, but Meta itself, the word Meta, is obviously used in many things, but metadata, if you've ever heard of anybody worried about them collecting your metadata, that would be like your fingerprints, your retinas, your DNA online. It's kind of like all of your personal information, everything about you, your life, your profile, everything is called metadata. Somebody gave me an actual definition of it, but I mean that's the general way that I see it. Also, the metaverse is what they want to have this virtual world be called. And of course, this was after they acquired Oculus just a few years ago. So Oculus, if you've ever had one, I had the first generation, and then I bought the second generation, and I couldn't use it because I didn't have a Facebook account. You have to have one. In fact, I just recently covered, I was kind of pumped. Somebody actually learned how to tweak the system to not use a Facebook. What I ended up doing to use the thing was I had to use somebody else's Facebook. I asked a friend, I said, hey, can I use this just for this reason? And they were trusting enough to let me use it. So I was able to play Oculus for a little bit, and then I just was like, everything was Facebook related, and I just thought it was kind of sick. This, of course, is a step towards this new kind of matrix world that they are trying to put us in. They don't want us leaving the house. They want us in the house, consuming, getting things delivered to our door. They want us to be worker bees, and to be worker bees from home, because now most of the jobs are going to disappear. In fact, they don't need most of us. These big corporations they just want us to consume. So they slowly want us to get over into jobs that involve ourselves being inside of some virtual world, because that's where the future is going, or at least that's what these people think. It said that Zuckerberg, of course, announced at his company's Connect event that the new name will be Meta. We are a company that builds technology to connect, Zuckerberg said. Together, we can finally put people at the center of our technology, and together we can unlock a massively bigger creator economy. To reflect who we are and what we hope to build, he added, he said that the name Facebook really doesn't encompass everything the company does now, which is kind of funny because what it does now is collect everyone's metadata. And is still closely linked to one product. But over time, I hope we are seen as a metaverse company. So what do you think about this? Are you going to get into the metaverse? I bet most of you are. Even though you're screaming and yelling, I bet you they're going to make something that you actually already enjoy They're probably going to acquire the rights to it. Facebook is going to consume everything because it is one of the richest companies out there. They buy these things. A lot of people played Oculus before Facebook acquired it. And then, obviously it gets sucked in, and then you have to have a Facebook for it. So, there's things like that. Maybe it was a different one. I want to say Oculus had... the first version did not have a Facebook thing. It just had a voluntary thing. And then Delaware Sasquatch says, Meta, most efficient tactics available. Hey, that's a good one. Claudia Musing, thank you for subscribing. And then Craig Alicious, X1 solar flare headed for Earth. So yeah, we're going to talk about that in just a bit here. In fact, we have that, I believe... right here. So we'll talk about that here in just a minute. Thank you, Craig Alicious. And then Genius by Birth says, my truck driver husband has to have a CPAP report for DOT. He needs a new machine, but guess what? There aren't any because they all take chips. They said maybe February. So I don't know if you caught that. By the way, Genius by Birth, thank you for your support. So she's saying that these CPAP machines, because they take the chips that are made in Taiwan, that they are telling her maybe February. So for him to get his test to continue doing his truck driver job, he needs a CPAP report. To get that, to get the machine, he has to wait until February. Right now it is October. That's 4 months away. So that gives you an idea. I also have one quick story about the shipping and everything else. My friend ordered a case of, what do you call it? 1/64th size scale cars, and it's from a company that makes these really fancy kind of Hot Wheels, but a more adult collector centric thing. And he ordered a case of it. He has a retail license, so he gets it through the retailers and stuff. And apparently, it's been almost a month now, and he called and bugged them, and they said that they have not even received it yet. So basically, they have not even shipped it. They haven't even got to the point where they can say that they have their hands on it yet. So that's a bad sign. And I've been telling people, and I've been telling friends like my friend Nick and Dave that there's a lot of stuff that is actually going down right now. We're going to talk about it here in a minute. They're pulling all of these products out of big box chain stores like Best Buy and everything else. This is a really, really obvious sign. If you need something to convince your family that something is coming, start putting together the stuff that we've placed here for you, because it is very obvious. If anyone with common sense and half a brain looks at the last month of stories, it's pretty hard to deny that something massive is going on. Other than, no ships still, and we're been covering this for over a month now, probably 2 months now. There's nothing coming, and there might be a few things here and there. Stores, again, like Target, Costco, Walmart, they all chartered their own ships. We covered that Target did it. I was not aware that Walmart and Costco have all chartered their own ships. But there's a downside to that. They only have so much that's going to come in. And then, of course, it's only going to be limited amounts, and it's going to be for the biggest stores. They still want to get their Black Friday sales. They still want to get all this stuff. So they've chartered their own boats. That means the politics of the government doesn't matter, other than customs, which they can't openly say right now what's going on with customs. They can't openly tell them to not accept things. But all of the government-owned, especially the ships that are coming from China that are China government-owned, almost all those ships are from Chinese owned logistics companies. All of those are not coming. So let me ask you this. If all those ships are going in and this port has this huge problem, why is Walmart, Target, and Costco able to actually keep these privately chartered ships and privately chartered containers going? Another thing to think about is obviously small retailers do not have the power to do that. The small retailers are waiting, and they all buy kind of space in these huge containers. Those same containers, which used to cost $1,800 for a huge container full of stuff, basically a whole toy store or a whole electronics store could fit in one of these containers. You could get 2,000 DVD players or Blu-ray players, right? Those used to be about $1,800. Now they're anywhere from $30,000 to $45,000 to get across. All the smaller retailers, I can think of one locally, Video Only. It's a small kind of, I guess you could call it a chain because there's a few of them. There's only a handful of stores. That's a small owner. They don't have the ability to charter their own ships. This is like putting the last nail in the coffin for all of these small chain stores. Basically, all of the small stores that you know that do this are all getting screwed right now. Imagine on top of last year, on top of being forced to shut down if they weren't essential, but on top of all of that, now they might have survived through that. Now they're not going to get stuff for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. That's insane to me. So this is really bad. This is way bigger than anybody knows. To get off the craziness for a second, because we're going to go into a lot of it. This is absolutely nuts. This is something out of a nightmare. The New York Post posted a blood-sucking eel with rows of swirling teeth spotted after a 20-year hunt. Look at this thing. So in case you're looking at a tiny little phone, that is something out of the Aliens movie. That's literally the tongue out of the Aliens movie. And those are teeth. They almost look like, that looks like a cobra with a shark mixture with an alien. Who's to say that's not an alien? What the hell is that? Absolutely terrifying. That is a eel that they've been looking for 20 years. This is what this is actually the top picture. Let's go up to the corner here. This is what this thing looks like from top down. Pretty terrifying if you ask me. And they finally got a picture of it. What do you think about this eel? Put it in the comments down below. And then this is a quick story. A toilet tube on SpaceX's Crew Dragon spaceship broke and sprayed pee under the floor during its first tourist flight. So not off to the best start. You could say that, that the first tour smelled a little bit like R. Kelly's sheets. It turns out that, of course, it broke and sprayed pee under the passengers, basically the whole side where the people are. And it didn't end up coming in contact with the people. It never entered the cabin, but it was basically right underneath. And some said that there was an odor the entire time. And then, of course, we have a statement from NSC spokesperson Emily Horn on the United States providing humanitarian assistance to the people affected by the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan. It says the United States is providing nearly $144 million in new humanitarian assistance to the people affected by the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan. This brings the total U.S. humanitarian aid in Afghanistan and for Afghan refugees in the region to nearly $474 million in 2021, the largest amount of assistance from any nation. Now, I wonder what all of you are thinking on this, but some are thinking that it's kind of strange that we're funneling all this money through, and then of course they're also saying that this same country, officials have just warned in the last couple days that they warn of possible attacks internationally from Afghanistan, from the groups that are there, from the weapons that we left there. And we're actually basically funneling almost $500 million or $500 million into the country to who knows what. It says this assistance will flow through independent humanitarian organizations who provide support directly to more than 18.4 million vulnerable Afghans in the region, including Afghan refugees in neighboring countries. Our partners provide life-saving protection, shelter, livelihood support, essential healthcare, winterization assistance, emergency food, aid, water, sanitation, and hygiene services in response. So, can anyone think of any other reason or any other way to use almost $500 million here in the U.S.? Now, is it because we screwed them up and we put them under rule? And by the way, who is ruling that country now? Dex, after you get off the phone, I did want to get your opinion on something because, and maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like to me, this is a country that's now going to be controlled by ISK and, of course, the Taliban. And basically, we're funneling $500 million in there to humanitarian companies, which who knows if they're actually going to spend that where it goes.
They're run by, like you said, that T organization. So, yeah. It's this money. I don't even understand why we're sending money back. We already left billions of dollars of equipment. What more do we need to give? Right. I mean, it's a little ridiculous in my opinion.
Well, who's to say somebody's not going to steal it?
That's what's happening right now. And why are we sending all this money in and not trying to get the 500 plus, citizens out that want to get out?
So let me ask you this. If they can send $500 million to Afghanistan, can they afford a couple million to extract the 480 people or whatever it is, the probably thousands that they lied about?
Yeah, and that probably wouldn't even cost them that. There's volunteers that'll probably go do it for nothing, but the cost of the gas and the loaning of the equipment or paying for the equipment. I mean, yeah, it's really crazy what's happening here. When you look at the headlines and you look at what they're saying and what we've done and what we haven't done, it's almost like mind-boggling that this is how we're operating.
Well, it's pretty big there. I wanted to see what is Washington State's yearly budget. I'm just curious, like what do we end up spending here? Wow, I'm actually surprised. Size and distribution of the state budget, the state's current operating budget for the 2019-21 biennium, so every 2 years, I believe, from all fund sources is $99.7 billion. Wow, that's actually a lot of money. Where does all of this money go? I just wonder, like almost $100 billion for my state alone. Just think about how much money has to be wasted for them to sign off money like this. $99 billion. What do they use it for? I guess, how much of that is welfare? How much of that is fixing the streets? How much of that is paying their government employees? I mean, that's insanity. So much money.
How much cash do we leave behind in that country, right? That they even found in the government buildings and homes where the president and vice president were, right? They found gold bars and tons of cash. And, we were handing out cash like it was candy there because we had to pay people to do things, right? There was cash everywhere in that country.
Anybody that served over there, a lot of folks told me they would have bags of cash that they would give the community if they needed to get something done at night or something like that. One specific story stuck out to me because they ended up handing $100,000 over to one of the villages, and it basically went to the one guy in the village that ruled the village, and they basically just got permission to drive through, and it was like $100,000 in Afghanistan, and it was for one single trip, and it was just to go over, and then they ended up like grabbing equipment and then driving back through. So I don't even know, the guy that went on that trip didn't even go both ways. So he didn't know if they had to pay them to come back or if that was both ways. But it was purely, he was handed a bag to hand off, and he said he has never had and never will have $100,000 in his hand, but he had this bag and he was told to check and make sure everything was there and then hand it off to the dude. And they knew from being there for another 18 months that the dude spent it himself. The one guy in the village got that $100,000. So I can only imagine, that was just a tiny village. I can only imagine what this king or the president of Afghan, the guy who fled. Remember, the guy who fled right before all this went down, they trained 300,000 soldiers. And when the T-ban of 20,000, I don't even know how many thousands, they just dropped all their weapons and they said, no, you can have it back. In 11 days, it was all taken over, whatever else. The president left, could not fit all of the money in a helicopter, so ended up using 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 huge SUV, black, big Suburbans full of cash and gold. And they forgot some. The VP or whatever left like $12 million in cash and $7 million, or no, 18 million or 12 million in gold and $7 million in cash in the frickin' place. Could you imagine that? And in U.S. cash. This isn't in Afghani money. This was in U.S. cash. Can you imagine walking into a place and just seeing gold bars everywhere and cash stacked up the walls? Jeez. And then the B administration reportedly considering $450,000 payments to families separated at the southern border. Dex, I don't know if I when I saw that, I kind of double took. And then again, when I looked, I was like, is this like total? Is this their whole budget? But no, to each person. It says the B administration is reportedly considering making payments of approximately $450,000 to each person separated from their family at the southern border. Why is this our financial burden? They did something illegal to get here. Unless they have absolute true refugee status, which we had before, like if they were, literally trying to escape a conflict or a war, which, again, that does happen too. But we're talking about people that were invited to come and now may get $450,000. And through these loopholes that have now been created, they're basically, they can appeal and appeal and appeal until they get a certain status. Now, do you think that this is not going to be taken advantage of and have families purposely come over and get separated and get paid? $450,000 isn't as much as it used to be, but that's almost $500,000. That's enough to buy a house here. I mean, in some states, you could actually buy a nice house, like a really nice house, and live for a year. Heck, if you were in Austin, Texas, or in some parts of Texas or in the Midwest or West Virginia or something, you could live high on the hog for years, or at least a couple years. This is insanity. We'll follow it and see if they actually do. By the way, Jane from Tennessee, God bless you. Well, thank you, and thank you for supporting us, and I appreciate your support there. Two Old People on a Couch says, great show, thanks Adam and Dex. Karen Young, thanks for subscribing. Michael Hammond says, just worked at an Afghan refugee camp. They have let known terrorists in the country. We are being invaded. Seen with my own eyes. Only some deserved it. So, Michael, I love how you put that. There are some there that actually did deserve it. But guess what? There's also, we brought in the bad with it. So that's a good point. Bird Dog, thank you so much for being here. What a name, Bird Dog. And then, of course, Steve O, thank you for dropping a PayPal during the show. I appreciate that. Says, I like to give this way rather than other ways. Thank you. I appreciate that. And then over on DLive, Cloud Farrell, Truth Be Known, thanks for all you do, Marf, Dex, and Mods. And then Lisa K23, thank you as well. Loved you guys on stream, live stream today. Oh, well, thank you, Pearl. I appreciate that. Leo Bobia, I appreciate you as well. New World Sorter, thanks for following. Maelstrom, Danish Anon, thank you. Maui Racing Realtor, it's nice to see you here every night. I appreciate that. Print money, print money, print money. Buy tangibles, folks. Yes, that's right. Meme Man 1984, thanks for gifting out subs. And, of course, Patty Morton, thanks for being here. Poco Loco, now I get to start my lemons all over again. Love to all. And then why not pay us all $450,000 for having to house them? Yeah. Like kind of like a oil tax or something, right? And then we have a massive X-class flare erupting from the sun. G3 strong geomagnetic storm possible. Halloween radiation storm warning in effect. So we know that this is solar cycle 25, and we have talked about this many times before, and we talked about how this may be the most unpredictable Well, they know it's going to be unpredictable. It's going to be could be the worst solar cycle we've ever seen, at least in modern times. The thing is that they've followed solar cycles for 400 years, and now there's a new science, which I believe the White House has now adopted, and I probably did it years ago, but they're still not publicly talking about it. They go on the 11-year cycle. The 11-year cycle that they were going off of already says that it might get bad around 2024, 2025. But the 22-year cycle essentially looks at it, and there's markers. There's very obvious markers, and then there's long cycles, short cycles, and basically every so many cycles, there's a really, 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 really bad one. And that's when we get, the storms that we get are just absolute monstrous storms. And that happens it does not happen very regularly, but it does happen. It does happen on a kind of on a regular basis. So in our human years, it might happen only, every 250 years or 300 years or something. But it happens like clockwork, or at least that's what some believe. They say solar cycle 25 could bring these just insane solar storms. And they've already seen that this cycle, which started in, I want to say, December of 2019 or 2020, correct me if I'm wrong down in the chat. Basically, we're about a year in, and it's already the most insane one we've seen so far. We nearly got hit just a few weeks ago, it feels like. And then we did have one hit. This one is a massive X-class flare. This is why people in the chat have been saying BP Earthwatch and all these other people are talking about these. Anybody that follows solar weather is looking at this and going, holy crap. Dex, again, I guess we should try to get some people on for this before Halloween. Maybe tomorrow. I wonder if we can get Wages World or somebody like that to come on and talk about what they've been covering. Because this is definitely something that needs to be followed. It says a massive X-class solar flare erupted from the sun today, and it appears an associated coronal mass ejection from the sun could reach Earth on October 30th or 31st, bringing about a geomagnetic storm on Earth around Halloween. A radiation storm associated with the explosion is impacting Earth right now. It says the largest solar flares are known as X-class flares, based on a classification system that divides solar flares according to their strength. The smallest ones are A-class, followed by B, C, M, and then X. Similar to the Richter scale for earthquakes, each letter represents a 10-fold increase in energy output. As a result, today's X flare is 10 times an M and 100 times a C-class flare. Within each letter class, there is a finer scale from 1 to 9. Today's solar flare is rated an X1. Today's X-class flare came from an active region, number 2887 on the sun, a growing sunspot area first detected days ago. According to NOAA's Space Weather Prediction Center, SWPC, an S1 radiation storm began at 1:40 Eastern today, and due to this event, they've issued a radiation storm warning through 8:40 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. So this again, is part of, they're saying that the worst ones may, like clockwork, happen in 2024, that could wipe everything, like wipe our grid like toilet paper. This thing is just all of a sudden. It's like the 1 second everything's good, and then if something like this, if one hits us direct on, we would be screwed right now. I wouldn't be surprised if we have some major outages and they say it was because of an update or something in the next day. In the next day or two. It says, according to the SWPC, solar radiation storms occur when a large-scale magnetic eruption accelerates charged particles in the solar atmosphere to very high velocities. The most important particles are protons, which can get accelerated to large fractions of the speed of light. At these velocities, the protons can rush to Earth in less than an hour after the explosion. When these particles reach Earth, the fast-moving protons penetrate the magnetosphere that shields Earth from lower energy charged particles. Once inside the magnetosphere, the particles are guided down and the magnetic field lines and penetrate into the atmosphere near the north and south poles. Solar radiation storms can cause severe impacts near Earth. When energetic protons collide with satellites or humans in space, they can penetrate deep into the object that they collide with and cause damage to electronic circuits or biological DNA. That's something that that's something that trips you out.
Yeah, so this is a flare, different from a CME, right? So the flare is more the radiation, where the CME is more of the induction that happens on the copper line. So both are dangerous. But the flare, which is the radiation that happens, like they said, it happens very quickly. It comes, in a hurry. And the CME can take many days to get here because it's different. It's from the coronal mass ejection, not the solar flare itself.
Yeah, so the CME would pass by us or hit us around Halloween.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised if and again, we're trusting the equipment of these agencies, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if damage gets done. So yeah, and again, the radiation hits within an hour. The CME would hit in a couple days. Meat Papa 007 says, shout out to the mods. Marv tagged you on Twitter with a link to a YouTube video about a video game from 2009 where someone wanted to use boom booms to collapse part of La Palma. Keep up the good work. That's a trip. What game is that? Was it a Call of Duty or something? And then Frank Cervania, Bidenflation. Yes, we actually covered that last night. And then Major Ken, thanks for subscribing. Some Guy, thank you so much. And Karen Young, thanks again. I think it's a trip that the radiation part can actually screw with DNA or with biological DNA. And then suspicious devices found on an Ohio River tugboat. So before we cover that, I do want to remind you, you can get essentials of life, such as actual 3-month supplies of food from My Patriot Supply at a discount, $100 off on a 3-month supply right now if you go to marfooglenews.com/prep. But what is awesome is this is a one-stop shop for everything prep related. If you want to get water filtration, which is probably one of the most important if we have an SHTF scenario, make sure to go over there. You can also get everything from iodine pills to emergency radios, battery banks, of course, survival books, and then, of course, anything kind of gadget related as far as survival you can get there. Air purification, and, of course, long-term food. It's a big deal to have yourself set. And once you are set, I'm sure you would feel a whole lot better about any disaster, whether that be a solar flare or a CME hitting Earth, or even just a couple day blackout from power outages. We're going to talk about it here in a bit, but a billionaire says that there may be real unrest from an energy shortage, which is really nuts considering what is going on. Just to give you a kind of a preview of that, this is pretty crazy. This is one of the CEOs of one of the biggest companies, and he's saying that it could set off social unrest across the planet. This is what's crazy to me is all of these different officials, pretty much everybody in the top tier is saying that we're about to run into really scary stuff. So if you're not going to believe me, just believe literally every source telling us we're about to get crapped on. I don't understand how people don't see it coming. All right, let's get the next caller on, and then we'll start talking about, of course, the Ohio bomb boat that they ended up finding. And it looks like we have Kevin on the phone talking about supply chain issues, calling from New York. And then on deck is a call about La Palma and fishy observations. And where's Dutch? Where is Dutch? That's a good question. All right, Kevin, you can come in when you want. And then AKA Chicky R, thank you so much. Says, may the force be with you. Do not go to the dark side. You know what I mean. Sending love from northeastern Maryland. And then Pam B, thank you. Says, you are great. We need you. Wanda A, I appreciate your massive support through all ways. I really do thank everybody that heads over to PayPal during the show. Thank you, thank you, and thank you. And then Blue Homemade Heaven, I appreciate you as well. All right, Kevin. Do we have Kevin? Looks like he's trying to get
Hello.
in. Kevin, what's going on? You were live on Marfoogle News.
Hey, great to be back. This is Kevin from New York. I called in a couple weeks ago and had a nice conversation with you. Was actually, I called in initially to talk about supply chain issues. So it's all kind of relevant to exactly what you were just speaking about with today's X1 flare. I want to explain to people, because I know in our last conversation, I don't know if you remember, but we were discussing, and I was talking about my theory and belief system, and my religious belief system, as well as my scientific analysis of what's going on, obviously, in with the grand solar minimum and the current situation we find ourselves in today, especially with an X1 flare. What people don't understand, X flare is pretty rare, especially at the first year, and we are, as you had stated before, we are completing the first year of the 11-year cycle of cycle 25. And the fact that we've had an X1 flare within the first year, not even into the second year, which is the low end of the scale. The 11-year cycle peaks at about the 4 to 5 year area. That is very troubling. And what people need to understand, that if we continue on this trajectory, that there's a very good possibility. And again, like I said, according to my stats, my calculations, my belief system, October 2024 is when the event occurs. It could occur prior to that. And it is ironic that they were predicting the peak cycle would be 2025, and this is according to NASA. They've now upped that, and they've changed that information, and they believe the peak will now be 2024. Again, this all kind of plays into what I was speaking about earlier, and so the other part of what I was mentioning as far as supply chain issue. This, to me, is kind of a foreshadowing event. A lot of the supply chain issue stuff that we're dealing with, obviously, there is a supply chain issue because of the shutdown that happened, obviously, with what occurred over the last year and a half. But there's also a lot of companies that are taking advantage of this. And the business that I'm in, I used to be able to get certain supplies from certain companies in electronics, which, let's face it, most of which is made in Asia. Within 2 days. Now it's taking up to 4 months. And a lot of these companies are offering it. Oh, yeah, we have it, but you got to pay 3 times the amount. So there's a lot of gouging going on, people taking advantage. So overall, my point I'm trying to make is, regardless of what is happening, what is occurring, especially with a solar flare, there's nothing you can do. If there's a massive solar flare, a CME, our grid will go down. Everything will just go down. It's impossible to even make repairs on the grid, because the major transformers that are required, which we have none of in this country, are manufactured where? In China. So I highly recommend, and I know you talk about, and I know you have products, and you're constantly talking about supplies, food supplies. At this point, you have to have 6 months minimum food supply if you're going to survive the event. A lot of people aren't going to survive the event, but to have a fighting chance, And not only do I tell people they need to have supplies on hand, you need to do like a practice dry run of what it will be like when the power goes out. Don't wait until something happens. It's like, families have these dry runs, what to do in case of a fire, what's the escape route, blah, 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 what do we do? It should be no different when it comes to an event that if our grid goes down, there will be no power for months at a minimum. It could be years. No power means a complete 180-degree change of the existence and the world that we are currently living in. Most people can't go an hour without their phone service or internet without losing their minds. So what I am saying to people is I highly recommend you try to do a day without power. Get used to it. Get prepared. Understand what it will take in order to survive in an environment now with no electricity. If you have gas-powered grill type of things that propane, anything like that, understand how to use that propane grill properly, safely. That's really my message for today, because seeing an X1 flare this early in the sun solar cycle 25, that's some scary stuff.
It's not the first.
I don't want
July, we had another one.
Oh, no, I know. We had a pretty good one. Luckily, that was a little bit off. It was not exactly direct Earth face. This is direct. This is a direct Earth facing. And when it's going to hit the CME, it's going to be hitting North America and Central America, because obviously with the rotation of the Earth, the time set when it would hit depends on where the Earth is in rotation in direction with the sun. This is going to be a North America, South America direct effect. And be honest with you, I don't think this is going to be on the scale of 1 to 9. Yes, it's an X1, and X1 is pretty serious. I would expect communication issues. I would expect at a minimum things of that nature being affected by it. It's funny because, and I always make this connection to people, and I tell people the sun is called the sun, and this is something that I believe. That is the son of God, the sun. That's why it's called the sun. The sun is in control of everything on this planet. Obviously, God controls the universe, but the sun, to me, and that's how I explain it to people, is ultimately the return. And it's ironic that it is written in the Bible about how there will be these meteors that will come from the sky. Our satellites, there are tens of thousands of these things flying around. There's space junk all over up in space. A class, an X5 or an X6 solar flare direct hit is going to take out all these satellites. That will send all of these things directly back into our atmosphere. That in itself, it could be such a disaster of having tens of thousands of pieces of this space junk that's up in the atmosphere, just spinning around, come hurling down at the planet. Just a thought on that level alone is scary enough. But
well, it's just like yesterday. Yesterday, this wasn't a thing, and today we have an X-class flare, not missing us, but directed. Now they were saying that it's going to be a hit. If this was an X5, X6, X7, or heavens forbid, a X9 flare, we'd be done.
Right.
We would be done.
Oh yeah. I mean, and I'll be honest with you, an X5 direct hit could easily take out our grid. Unfortunately, what people don't understand, our grid is, for the most part, 100 years old. Okay? It's 100 years old. It's no different than, say, I live in a 110-year-old brownstone. The wiring in the walls is so thin that if you plug in more than 2 or 3 things on one line, you blow the circuit. It's the same difference. So most of the lines that run throughout our entire country, and Europe's even worse. I mean, Europe, they're like 200 to 500-year-old electrical systems. It's crazy how bad the systems are in Europe. But in this country, it's pretty bad, and it could easily get fried. And like I say, the majority of the massive transformers that are required to even get up and running again, so they'd have to replace these massive transformers. I mean, these things are huge. We don't have any of them in this country. GE stopped making these things 40, 50 years ago. They're all made in China.
Yeah, and that's why. And what if we were at war with them at the same time? That you're definitely not getting it. Then they said that they would.
That's the other thing.
They would outdo it to another country, and then they said it would take anywhere from 9 months to 2 years. By then, I mean, people would tear each other apart. If you have 6 months of food, somebody else is going to come and try to get your 6 months of food. That's why everybody, if we were all prepared, you know, we could definitely get by a whole lot better. It's about, you know, spreading the word and getting people to believe that this is, you know, that this is a reality, and it's a really high possibility. Something is going on with the government. They're worried. Even elites are worried. They're building bunkers like never before. They don't want to be here when it happens.
Right. And here's my other point of the reason why I believe. Now, let's face it. Governments have the information. They have so much information they're never going to release to us. It's not a stretch to believe that they're fully aware, and they have the scientists, they have the knowledge, they know about these solar flares, they know about the intensity and what can occur. That's why I say all of this supply chain stuff, it's almost like it's a foreshadowing of what's coming. They know something is coming. That's why they're doing all this crazy money spending. That's why they're doing all of this, you know, outrageous stuff where they're saying, oh, we're going to give $450,000 to these people, and we're going to give money to this. And we gave all this money to these people in Afghanistan with absolutely no accountability. And it's insanity.
Do you think it's because
that you would be
we've got a couple years left?
Like, I'm sorry?
Do you think they're just printing money like crazy because they know we only have a couple years left to even be here?
Oh, definitely. Well, I mean, they know something is coming. There's going to be a massive reset. You notice how they keep using that word too, reset? It's almost as if they're putting it in everyone's vocabulary and mind. The reset, the great reset. This, you know, this concept of, oh, let's restart. Well, in order to reset, you've got to stop what was already in process. So in order to do that, you've got to completely shut it down, eliminate what was in order to start anew. I mean, but in order to do that, there's going to be, I would say, billions of people will be, I mean, let's face it, right now we live on a planet where billions of people are barely eating, you know, 2-3 meals a day. They're barely getting by. So, and the only reason a lot of those people are getting by is because of our country and developed countries that have power, that have money, that have food, that have water, that have the ability to sustain billions of people that are at the mercy of countries like ours. Once we don't have the ability to even take care of ourselves, these people are gone in days, weeks, within months. There's going to be a massive eradication of human life on this planet. And for me, I just believe that they're just going about this. I mean, that's why it just seems like, especially, you know, the political party in power right now, they're just hell-bent, like they got their foot on the pedal, and they're just going. They're going all in, full send, with almost no care in the world, like a drunken sailor with his paycheck, and just spending and going at it. And because I truly believe that they are fully aware that the party is going to end as we know it. And so when that occurs, then they have the perfect excuse They're going to clear everything. All debts will be cleared. I mean, it's over. Everything's gone. Even the world we live in right now, everything's digital. Your bank, I mean, your money's not in the bank. Newsflash. They tell you when you look at your phone app, oh, you have $100,000 in the bank. Go to that bank and try to take your $100,000 out. I guarantee most banks won't have 10% of your money on hand, because by law, they don't even have to keep less than that amount on hand in any bank at any time. So everything is an imaginary, just digital number now. So once the power goes out, it's the perfect excuse. Sorry, everything's gone. That's it. That's the great equalizer. That's the moment where everybody is on the same playing field, the level ground, and we all start back at zero.
And even if you have
and you know
cash, it won't be worth anything because of hyperinflation.
It'd be worthless, right? What would it be worth? What would it be worth? You know, that's another thing. Like people say, oh, you should buy gold. What are you going to do with the gold? The real commodity, when the S hits the fan, let me tell you, and this is something I've done, learning how to grow your own food. If you know how to grow food, you're going to be a king amongst men and people. If you know how to cultivate a field, if you know how to, do things, if you know how to set up systems, ecosystems in order to grow food, because let's face it, at the end of the day, if you have no food, you have nothing. You can get water. You can go to water. You can find water sources. You can't find food. You have to grow food. These are the basic essential things that people need to get back to and get in touch with.
I mean, why else would Bill Gates buy all the farmland up? I mean, that's why.
Why do you think they did that? Why do you think?
To own the food.
Why do you think Jeff Bezos? I don't know if you know this. Recently, it was just published. He built this place in a mountain. It's insane. It's got a helipad, and it's got a landing strip, and it's got a place for his rocket ship to land. I forget exactly where it is, but it's literally, it looks like something from, some science fiction movie where the guy lives in this cavernous mountain and he's built this place. Like literally, like he's like, hey, I'm going to survive this. But at the end of the day,
oh my gosh,
as a Christian,
like Batman, and Zuckerberg had a slide from his office down to his car. Does anybody think that's weird? Like a normal office building with a tube slide down to his car, like you would have to leave in a moment's notice. Nobody's putting this together.
Well, and the joke is, and the beauty of this is, now this is me speaking as a Christian. Personally, the joke is, we say, non-believers believe the world is falling apart. True believers believe it's all falling into place. Meaning, if you believe as a Christian in the Bible, and I know from my last comment, some people took things maybe out of context that I was saying, because half of the belief system is biblical and half of it's also scientific. And I think some people, that's difficult for them to kind of grasp that kind of range. But anybody who thinks like when something like this occurs, it's going to occur in an instant. Okay. And if you think you're going to slide down some slide and jump in your car, first of all, if there's a grand solar minimum, all electronics cease to exist. Everything. And everything nowadays is run with microchips. And they're so simple and so sensitive. It's a joke to even think that anything is going to work. And I understand people think about EMP stuff and protection and Faraday cages. It's a pipe dream. I'm sorry. Very few things will survive a massive, EMP type of situation. Very few things. The only things that will work will be mechanical. Anything that's digital, anything that's, made with microchips or any of that, type of equipment is going to be fried. It would be pointless. So again, I just stress to people, you got to go back to the simple stuff, the basics. having basic things and understanding that we can live without power. It's possible. Humans did it for millions of years, folks. If you believe people have been here for millions of years. So even if we say 100,000 years, humans have lived without power. They've lived without the internet. They lived without computer chips. Okay.
Well, Kevin, I don't think,
and
that's why I think it's a little weird. Like it's a little bit more than just power. It's going to be like something where, why are they trying to get off Earth kind of thing. But Kevin, we'll have to catch up on another call. I would love for you to call in again.
Go on.
Listen. I enjoy your call. I honestly, I could probably talk to you for days. But we do need to keep on a time schedule.
I do appreciate you taking my call, and have a great night, and I'll enjoy the rest of the show and the rest of the callers, I'm sure. And
I agree with you on
I
agree with you on that as far as having food or having actual tangible items. That a lot of people are saying it too, and it's smart. Salt is something that we need.
Right, do a practice run. Do a practice run.
Oh,
like live a weekend without energy. Live a weekend without the power.
Oh, you can tell.
Turn your power off in your house.
Oh, Kevin, you can tell when the power goes off. You can feel it. It just drops. You can feel your in your blood just when the power goes out. Also, to have a practice run, because when the lights go out, if it does happen at night, when this happens,
right.
it say it's at night, then all of a sudden, boom, you're not going to know what's going to happen, and then you're going to have to do everything in the dark. You're going to have to try to find your flashlights. You're going to try to find everything. It's just going to be horrible. So, Kevin, thank you for calling. I appreciate you. I want to hear from you again.
You got it.
Don't be a stranger.
Take care.
That was Kevin from New York. That was, by the way, when I enjoy a call, I could just keep going. Unfortunately, we do have to. There's so much important news here tonight that we've got to kind of cruise through it. So I kind of skipped over the first one. Basically what happened was there was a strange boat. First, it was reported as suspicious devices found on the Ohio River on this tugboat. And then it said that West Virginia State Police dismantled a boom boom on a barge in Ohio River. Dex, do you have anything to add to that? I know that this was a self-manufactured or a homemade boom boom.
Well, specifically, this article and the next article kind of go hand in hand in the sense that this stuff was happening, and it sort of leads me to believe that maybe there's something else brewing that we're going to see. Maybe something's about to be set up or created, or just an event may be happening organically, which may or may not be possible. But this is just really insightful when you hear these kind of things. They're not major headlines. They're really localized and small, and nobody's bringing them out to the forefront.
Yeah, this is obviously there's a ton more to this story, and most likely we won't figure all of it out. By the way, Amy R. stopped by. Hey, Amy, it's nice to see you again. And I wherever you're hiding, it is super nice to see you again, and it's always a pleasure to see you. Thank you so much for everything. Again, thank you for stopping by and supporting. You don't have to. And again, you have supported, especially on DLive. Again, thank you so much for everything you've done. And again, thank you guys for the few people that have gone above and beyond. I think Amy R is still our top on DLive for the year. So thank you. And then Thomas Wick, thank you for subscribing. Sil AGs. And then Chansasa, thank you for subscribing. And then Yeshua is King, thank you for your massive support. So you do, Adam. Again, it's not just me, it's Dex, it's mods, everybody puts into this, and the Foogle fam. Without the Foogle fam kind of, bringing in all these stories at all times, it's pretty impressive. Mr. Real Noodle says we can't fight the outer demons until we conquer the inner demons. KO Sports, Pam Jones just subscribed. Thank you for all these new subscribers coming in. Christine Rystad, thank you so much for your support 24 minutes ago. And then Marf, FYI, the game is called Secret Files 2. I will check that out. I've never heard of that. It must be maybe a strategy game, I'm guessing. Of course, he was referencing the previous one where it's a 2009 game where somebody wanted to use boom booms to collapse a part of La Palma volcano. Really crazy stuff. And then, okay, so how many signs does everybody need? U.S. retail giants pull Chinese surveillance tech from shelves. U.S. retail giants Home Depot and Best Buy have pulled Chinese video surveillance technologies makers Lorex and Ezviz from their stores over links to human rights abuses. Dex, can you cover this for a second? I need to grab something. So, can you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've talked about these particular video surveillance systems before, and we've talked about the fact that there's been security holes in them, or at least somewhat reported backdoors that are left in the code that can be vulnerable and accessible to folks in China, right? Because that's where they're made. Now what we're seeing is companies actually taking a stand to eliminate selling them, but they're doing it for a different platitude. They're basically going after the notion of, human rights abuses and that. So they're not necessarily going after it from the tech side. They're just going after it from that side. So kind of interesting position here, but a lot of these platforms are definitely coming from, obviously these that they're not going to sell anymore are coming from China. But these surveillance systems are everywhere. Like every convenience store, these are the ones a lot of people will put them in their house. But I think a lot of people go with the Ring and things that are a lot more easier. But these, Chinese built systems from Lorex and Ezviz and Daewoo and others that make them, you'll see them in Costco and Sam's, and a lot of convenience stores and small stores will put these in, almost like a do-it-yourself surveillance system. And then sometimes these companies will put them in too, because they're not the low end, but they're sort of the entry level for commercial use, right? So these systems are pretty much everywhere you go. You go to a doctor's office, you go into a convenience store, you go anywhere, you're probably in the view of one of these types of systems. So we've talked about the fact that they, can be accessed remotely. They tend to have the ability for backdoors to be open in them from China and from other places. So there's a lot of, challenges with that.
And I did walk away for a second, so I didn't catch everything that you said, but this is further. So we already showed that they were saying that DJI drones were a security risk. Then this pops up. Then all these big chains start pulling this. I just want to remind you, the previous president got warning about this, started talking about it out loud, and for whatever reason, right when the next president came in, it just kind of went quiet, right? And they even reversed some of the stuff. And then, of course, more and more came out, and it's like, yeah, this is really bad. The Chinese are using these cameras and these proprietary systems to actually monitor our country. What in the world are you doing? Like, hey, dumbasses, somebody wake up. As far as DJI, they quoted one of the senators that I want to say it was a senator. One of the officials, high-up official, said that this was basically a drone version of Huawei. And I didn't, basically saying that this is a DJI, this is their version of Huawei. Like, they're spying on us through these things. They're spying on us through these drones. And it's like, come on, it's freaking obvious. Plus, you have to use their proprietary software. You can't use anything else. And then that company has all these crazy ties into the government. I have DJI stuff. The crappy part is especially if you shopped 2 years ago, there was no good product except for DJI. And here's another thing. This is a Chinese company where China has made the best product for years. And all these people keep saying that China just makes crap and all of this. Hello? They're making better products than these American companies. Even the best American companies are not touching DJI in drones. And that should tell you something. This is a Chinese company that is killing all of the other companies in this aviation and technologically advanced drones. Think about what they're doing for their military. If they've got this on lock, think about how they're turning ex-Soviet jets that go Mach speeds and have weapons attached, think about that. If they have drones on lock, think about how they're gonna deal with that. I say never underestimate your enemy. Something is about to go down with China. We obviously have a big kind of scramble for power before whatever is going to happen. And maybe they want to, whenever this goes down, maybe they want to, they're going to reset who owns what. I mean, I wouldn't put it past to see something change, as far as, we're talking about a change of who owns what countries and who owns what. So keep that in mind. Microsoft warns billions of passwords have been hacked. Check yours now. I actually warned this last week. It says Microsoft has issued a stark warning to those who reuse their passwords across multiple online accounts. In a blog post this week, the U.S. tech titan said that it identified an uptick of the use of password spray attacks over the past 12 months. They involved hackers gathering a list of usernames and passwords leaked online and plugging them into various websites. Cyber crooks hope to eventually stumble across a working combination that gives them access to someone's email or social media accounts. From there, they can attempt to break into more sensitive accounts, such as your bank or iCloud. The attacks were identified by Microsoft's Detection and Response Team, or DART, which is dedicated to identifying the latest cyber attack methods. It says, quote, "This threat is a moving target with techniques and tools always changing. They are different from brute force attacks, which involve attackers attempting to attack a small number of user accounts. The researchers identified two commonly used kinds of password sprays. One involves matching known usernames to commonly used passwords, such as password or 123456. The hope is that they will eventually guess the correct combination for as many users as possible." So this is another reason why Dex and myself have both told you guys to have a password generator do if highly complex passwords, possibly have something like 1Password. In fact, NordVPN, again, we haven't worked with it yet. They have a thing called
a free one. They actually have a free one, and they have one that's better than free, but it's only like maybe $1.50 a month or something. It's super cheap that they discount if you get the VPN, but you can get their free one too. But having a password manager makes it easy. It does a couple of things for you. I mean, it gives you one place to store them all that's secure, but it allows you to have different passwords for everything. But more importantly, it monitors. So it looks through and lets you know if you're using duplicate passwords, weak passwords, or even if you're in this affected billions of passwords. Because, by the way, what Microsoft is talking about here is that over time they have leaked billions of passwords from all these different systems, and what they're doing is just hitting them over and over again, and they're seeing an uptick of them going in and grabbing those words and trying to reuse them again to figure out who's using the same passwords in similar places. And once they get one in, then they come, maybe it's you, and they find your email account, and then they turn around and then go after your bank account, et cetera, from there. So it's really important to be prudent about your passwords and not use the same one on multiple places, and not use very easy ones that anybody could figure out.
We're talking about using, obviously asterisks and symbols and everything else. And I know most of you are probably like, well, then I won't be able to remember it. That's why you need to have something like 1Pass or NordPass or something like that to actually go along with it. So just keep that in mind, and especially if you have Hotmail or whatever, the Microsoft one that obviously everybody has to use for Xbox or any of that. Make sure to change your password and change it everywhere. It's inconvenient to change passwords, but you have to do it nowadays, especially with stuff like this. They're just going and spraying out and trying to catch you. And especially, I know there are a ton of you that have your password as password. I know there's a bunch of you with 1122 or something. That's what a lot of people do, and it's crazy to do that nowadays. Especially, I mean, it doesn't matter even if you have asterisks and symbols and it's 40 letters long. Soon, when there's quantum computing, if we get to that point, if we even make it, it's already exists. If we make it into using it, You won't even have passwords won't matter. There will be no stopping computer algorithms.
My name is Tom Holman. I'm the former ICE director under President Donald Trump, and I'm here to ask America to wake up. You can protect yourself, and at the same time protect this great nation. The threat of electromagnetic pulse is real, EMP. If you don't know what it is, look it up. It's a matter of life and death. I recently partnered with a Midwest company, veteran-owned, that has developed a device you can hook up to your home or your vehicle to protect you against an EMP. I highly encourage you to go to EMPshield.com and research this device. Again, it will protect you, in the long term, protect this great nation. Thank you.
Again, probably one of the only things I disagreed with Kevin on is that everything is going to be fried no matter what. I don't know what the difference is up to an X9, what the ultimate X9 will actually be. But I do know that this is actually, as far as EMP Shield, is tested for up to 228,000 amps, as far as one of the strongest solar flares you could have and the strongest CMEs as far as the resulting CME from that. This is Keystone tested. The government is depending on these devices to get through a lot of this stuff. Now, I don't know how different. Again, they're very confidential about what the difference is between consumer and these government ones. Who knows? They could be making a building-sized EMP shield or something. But I do know that this has been Keystone tested against basically everything that they could throw at it, including EMPs that any enemy would be going at, and as far as the strength of a severe, as far as X-class solar flare and everything else at this. And they even tested it multiple times. They tested after 40. These aren't 40 in a row. They always say you have to wait. In a real situation, they'll actually do it in pulses because they have to charge the atmosphere. As far as this, it can actually protect you against all three phases of an EMP, E1, E2, and E3, and basically anything that is wired into this. Somebody last night said, well, what if the power doesn't come back on for 2 years? What good is it if your stuff works? Well, that's why this is very important. People need to understand you should be looking into generation, getting a generator of some sort, and of course, if everything is wired in, that means if the power does come back on, all of your stuff will still work. There might not be a company making new refrigerators again after SHTF happens in a year, the power turns back on, you'll have all your stuff. But either way, right after it happens, or 2 days after it happens, whenever it finishes happening, your stuff was protected. So then you can actually hook up all of your devices in your home or in your bug out spot to your generator or to your solar system. They make different devices for everything, but I think that if everybody had this would say, if we all had this, we wouldn't be in a bad position. Right now, we are screwed. We are literally set up for failure.
Adam, one of the things Kevin did say was he was talking about his old house and the old wiring, right? And your wiring in your house is not rated to handle more amperage than what it's made for. 15 amps in the wall, 20 amps in the wall, maybe more for a dryer or a stove, right? Well, if 220,000 amps is coming into it via an induction, you're going to see it catch fire. So it's not just let's protect your device. It's like, let's protect the walls in your house. If all of those wires are shunted to ground and induction happens, nothing happens. It just goes straight to ground and it's gone. So, if you have old wire in your house or even new wire in your house, I promise you it's not rated to handle the power that's going to come from an EMP or a CME, right? That's the whole reason why you would see these things get really hot really fast and potentially create fires in the wall, for that matter.
The Carrington level event that happened 160 years ago, that set these poles on fire. I'm looking for the word here, Dex. It sent the telegraph. The telegraph poles were set on fire. It was that strong.
And the machines.
It went all the way
to the machines.
Down the lines.
Getting shocked.
So, in fact, people, I believe, perished from getting electrocuted from that event. And a lot of crazy stuff happened back then. And that was before we had all of this sensitive equipment. So, Seems to me like a no-brainer. Again, this company is worked with Department of Homeland Security, Department of Defense, and now they're on the DEMSO team helping the Texas grid because the Texas grid is completely separate. They're trying to protect. Everybody knows something is coming, except for the majority of civilians. Cameron Combs says, a lot of people, including me, are talking about how strange it feels to see everything happening and know that bad times are likely coming soon while still going to work and acting normal. Be prepared. That's why I think about the situation when it does happen. None of us are going to be ready, truly ready. We might be prepared, but we're not going to be ready for the lights to go out. We're not going to be ready to get everything down. I mean, when it really happens, my like whole stomach is going to drop. I'm thinking I've got 4 kids. My 15-year-old, if she's with her mom or something, and I've got my 3 little ones with my wife, and it's like, what if we're separated? What if we're here? What if she's over there? I think about, once that kicks in, we have to that's why you practice. That's why I think what Kevin said is really important. Why we should be practicing and getting ready. Because once it goes in the dark, are you going to be able to do it the same as you? Don't practice with the lights on. Because guess what? That's not going to happen. You're not going to have the lights on. And then Taiwan creates Army Iron Man exoskeleton that boosts military powers. That's right. It says one thing that insects appear to do better than humans is having an exoskeleton. But like most other things, if you can't make it yourself, store-bought is fine. Taiwan appears to have done just this. The National Chung-Shan Institute of Science and Technology, the country's main weapons manufacturer, has come up with a battery-powered wearable exoskeleton to enable soldiers to run faster and carry heavier objects, enhancing their overall endurance. It's part of a larger project dubbed the Taiwan Iron Man, which will set out with a NT 160 million budget, or a $5 million. Actually, that's not that much in U.S. It's a $5 million budget with the goal of developing a lower body exoskeleton. It appears to have reached this aim with the suit, which is named the Army Iron Man system. It says the South China Morning Post reports that at a press conference, Jen Q. Kuang, head developer of the Taiwan Iron Man project, started that project and has started in 2020 with the aim of reducing fatigue in soldiers in carrying heavy faculties. So we've seen our own military working on this stuff, but now militaries all over the world are coming up with these exoskeletons. What is really crazy to me is very soon we will see this kind of, and again, I really hope we will. I hope we'll see. I hope everything will be good enough to where I hope that some miracle happens and everything goes back to being free and we're all able to live in this new world with new technology and everything will be all good and we won't be silenced and we won't be in single file lines going through checkpoints. But if we are, the soldiers that will be at those checkpoints will be really cool looking because this is a reality. We're going to see people in these like exoskeletons, and this isn't fiction. This is now a reality, and they're actually becoming, the more advances that happen, the more practical they become. Imagine just going to work and putting on a suit, and instead of using the forklift to carry a pallet, you would just lift the pallet up onto the shelf. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about. They've made, there was one that, of course, you couldn't move, but it was just something you hop into. You were able to roll. I guess it had wheels or something, but it was basically a suit because you controlled it. You could lift 2,000 pounds or something like that with this suit and just this base with wheels. Think about that. You would be the forklift. That's just nuts. So, yeah, and it says it works through reducing the stress on leg and hip joints over long distances. Imagine being able to run 40 miles an hour. Imagine being able to run on a special little highway meant for people right next to the actual highway. And instead of, 40 feet wide, It's 3 feet wide. You'll have the Hyperloop for multiple people, and then you'll have this, you'll put on a suit to run in a tiny thing. Think about how much more efficient that would be. That's a crazy thing to think about. By the way, thank you, and thank you. A big thank you to Lady Green Eyes. Thank you for popping in, and thank you for your support of the channel over the last 3 years. Stay strong in Jesus, family. Love you, Adam, Dex, and Mods. Thank you, and Quantum Cat. 2014 UN 271 equals solar flash, says Quantum Cat. Thank you again, Quantum Cat, for the multiple diamonds there. Jack Me Daniels. Is that Jack McDaniels? Says this channel. Jack McDaniels then says, let's go, Brandon. And then Hupper, thank you. And Stormy7572, nice to see you tonight. Nice to see you again. And then Nicolia, TKO Koi, and King B33, thank you for following. Lots of new followers over there on DLive. Thank you. Would you wear the suit? I would probably try one at least. And then U.S. President B vows to stand with Asia on freedom, hits out at China on Taiwan. So, Dex, let's get our next caller on here before we go any further. And it looks like Twisted Luck Truth is on. Again, the number is 224-400-MARF. Let's get Twisted Luck Truth before we cover this. You are live on Marfoogle News.
Hey, what's going on, Adam?
So what?
Long time no talk.
Yes. How are you been, and what's going on?
Good. I got a couple things, but it's all related to La Palma, and I'm going to try to get it out quick here. So La Palma, to sum it up, I think this is something we should never be afraid, but always be prepared, right? Prepared, not scared. And La Palma, could go either way. Who knows? Me personally, I was paying attention to it when it first came out. It's scary. What would we do? And I came up with a plan. I'm here in Florida. We're very low elevation. If something were to happen, I came up with a plan somewhere where I can get to higher elevation, things like this. It's all about preparation. And like you said, mental prep is a huge part of it. But, it's been going on for over a month and it kind of died out. No big deal anymore. It kind of gets in the back of your head. And now activity has started picking up, right? They said this thing would get better. It probably wouldn't get worse. Now it's getting worse. All the activity is picking up. Things are getting worse. And I've noticed, everybody has noticed, I'm sure, that the mainstream has pretty much just dropped it, which is odd if you think about it. Why when it gets more, it starts to get a little more severe, a little more serious, then they stop talking about it. At the same time, we have a lot of distractions being pushed by the mainstream media. And what I've learned over the years is if they say look down, I look up. They say look right, I look left. There's been a lot of stories, one after the other, nationwide stories that they push. And it's almost like they're saying, look here, only look here. And we've got so much going on at the same time. And we know we're not told the truth. So all we can do is theorize, wonder and theorize. And some things like this sound like a crazy theory, but it always sounds like a crazy theory until it's not. So we have activity picking up, nobody talking about it anymore, except for on social media, the real people, the real truth. We talk about it here, but it's almost like the mainstream doesn't want us to talk about it. So many things tied into this. So Dutch sense, over time, I've trusted what he says. He's always been very accurate, and you can tell he's very accurate because it's a passion to him. And typically when it comes to earthquakes or, anything like that, if he says it's going to happen, it happens. And a lot of things we hear first from him, and sometimes only from him. So he had been following La Palma and, giving updates on it all the time. And then when the activity started really picking up, I started saying, where's Dutchson's? I'm very curious to hear what he's got to say. And one of the last videos, he did do, maybe not one of the last, but recently he came out and said that, if something were to happen, if there was some kind of risk of a tsunami to the U.S., that he would give warning to everybody, because we know they're not going to give us any warning. And, it sounds evil and cold, but at the same time, I understand why. When you have the entire eastern seaboard of the United States trying to flee at the same time, all that's going to do is gridlock everybody. Nobody's going anywhere. So I get it. But some people with some warning could get out, and some is better than none. So I've held on to that, I know he'll give us warning, and that'll be good. And if he says, hey, I think it's coming, you got 8 hours, go, my plan's going to start coming into place. There's also, and we know there's no buoys like on the the West Coast in the Pacific. They have buoys that can measure the waves. So if this was coming from the West Coast, they would know the size of the wave, how fast it's going, how long you have until it gets here. Between the East Coast and over there, there's no buoys in the ocean. So something breaks off, there's a wave coming, that's all you know. So sit and wait. So I know that, I'm sure Dutchins isn't the only one. I'm sure there's a couple out there. I don't know of them, but I'm sure there are that do follow this and, do have the knowledge and the stuff like he does, that would give a warning, say, hey, I think this is happening. But, but he's the main one. So in this time now, he hasn't posted anything. La Palma has really picked up. Everything is picked up over there. He's not posting. So I started looking for him, and he hadn't posted a video, I think, since October 11th. And, he's a person just like the rest of us, and he's not obligated to do this. So obviously maybe he just was like, hey, I need a break, step away from it for a minute. And that's all well and good. But this is something that seems to interest him so much, it seems unlike him. So I said, maybe he's in YouTube jail. I've been there, and, maybe he is too, for some reason. So I looked on Twitter.
He very well could be, yeah.
He hasn't posted on Twitter since the same day.
Oh, weird.
So then I found he's on Twitch. So I go to his Twitch. When you click on videos for that channel, it says this channel has no videos. But yesterday, when I looked at it, it said 7 hours ago. So at some point yesterday afternoon, that account had posted a short 27-second video of somebody on a computer screen. It's just showing the computer screen.
Wait,
and
hold on. Somebody said
in the search bar.
Somebody said he was on Twitch 2 nights ago. Tyler Simmons. Did you see him actually on? Like he said it. There was a 27-second video there.
And on that video, all it was someone searching La Palma, and they bring up, it was either a still shot or a video of La Palma, while some weird, I don't know, it's Japanese or some weird kind of music plays in the background, or, over the video. And that was it. And there was no points of the video. It was just somebody pulled up La Palma on a computer with this weird music playing. And that was it. 27 seconds is done. And then I believe it said the day before there was a 28-second video, which was the same thing, but nothing else. You click on videos and, it says there's none. So I made a video, too, kind of talking about this. And I also asked about that. I didn't put it up yet.
Can I ask you a quick question? Because a few people have said it in the chat. You say you're from Florida, right?
I'm in Florida, yeah.
A lot of people are saying that you sound like Florida Marquis or Florida Maquis. You're not. You've been on here forever.
That's
right?
Weird. No, I've always been Twisted Luck Truth.
Yeah. I knew that.
Twisted Luck, but then I had Truth.
This conversation, I heard it, and I saw somebody else confirm what I was thinking. Somebody said that, and I'm like, wait, is Twisted Luck Truth secretly Florida Maquis? You've been around here a long time.
No.
That's funny. Maybe it's just how Floridians talk.
Luck Truth for...
Well, no, and then I saw you called from Florida. I'm like, oh my gosh, is this? Have I not? Because I've talked to you a bunch of times, and I'm like, how did I just now figure that out? But anyway, never mind.
No,
Two different people.
Sorry to anybody that thought they cracked the case. No, it's just me. Just Twisted Luck.
Well,
Nobody else.
So you did a video. I by the way, I pulled up your channel.
So
you're almost on 4,000 subscribers. If we can, because we're getting close to the 2-hour mark. Yeah.
Yep.
So Dutch is kind of missing. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, and if I can add one more thing.
Go
So
ahead.
all this stuff seems to be trying to steer us away from looking at La Palma to me, right? And also Dutch, he's had some intimidation from some government agencies in the past too. We know that. And he's for being too real and too truthful. So real quick, there's a live stream on YouTube of the La Palma all the time. My wife noticed last night. She said, "Hey, in the live chat here, it looks like anytime somebody says the word tsunami, they delete the comment." I said, "That's weird, but maybe it's trolls or something. Maybe they're trying to push fear, like, hey, a tsunami's coming right now, everybody, and they want to, they don't want to push fear, so they delete that." So I went to it real quick and I said, I'm going to just post a genuine sounding question. So I just posted, hey, with all the increased activity, is there any tsunami concern? Just to see what would happen. They deleted the comment and like an automated response popped up and it said, "There is no evidence to suggest any tsunami threat. Please refrain." And I thought that was weird. They're like, "Shut up, don't say that." And then I kind of struck back. I was like, well, they also say there's no evidence to suggest that there's any dangers from the Kool-Aid. And we all know that's not true, so, and they deleted that comment too. So it's almost like all the media doesn't want us to, think about it. They're directing us everywhere else, even there. It's just and then Dutch missing too. I don't know. I'm always reading between the lines. Because
Dutch would be
trying to figure out.
Dutch covers it every day. Dutch was covering it every day up until a couple days ago. I mean, the last time I checked in. So, no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's weird.
And then who knows? Maybe the shipping containers over on the West Coast. Maybe that's related too. Maybe they're staying there for a reason. And that might be reaching far. But, like I said, it's always crazy until it's not. But I don't know. So
I'm not surprised.
If anybody knows,
I'm not surprised by anything. Twisted Luck Truth. Again, we're out of time, but I appreciate you calling. And again, like I'm keep open minded. I don't get. I honestly I think that you should listen to everybody and anybody, because I might pull a little piece of truth out of everybody else's thoughts, and I might as far as what you're saying. I think total possibility. I had a dream about La Palma, and I'm freaked out by it because I have never been to La Palma or to the Canary Islands, but I had a dream on those mountainside resorts, and it just trips me out because I've never been there, never seen anything.
Yeah,
that's
wild.
I'm not good at geographics, and never really seen anything on the Canary Islands. Maybe a Bond movie, maybe, I guess. What have they shot there? Anyways, thank you, Twisted Luck Truth. I hope you can get to 4,000 subscribers tonight. Everybody should head over and subscribe.
That would be awesome.
All right, well, thank you. Twisted Luck Truth from Florida. All right, have a good night, Twisted.
I appreciate it.
And then make sure to go over, and if we can get him to 4,000, that would be really cool. I know he's working really hard to try to do it. Again, make sure to go over and check. He's talking about Alec Baldwin, 4-star officers. He's again, I think since the last time I showed his channel, he's working on his thumbnails better. Everything's better. So go over and show some love. I know that he is loyal. He's been in the Foogle fam for a long time. That tripped me out though, because after I thought, I'm like, gosh, he sounds a lot like Florida McKee tonight. And then somebody in the chat said it, and they go, "It sounded like Florida McKee." And I'm like, oh my gosh. I thought the same thing for a second there. The pauses and the cadence. And then secretly I looked, and because we always just take a first name and state or a country, right? So calling from NZ or calling from Maryland or whatever. And it said Florida. I'm like, oh, no way. I don't know, like, who knows? Maybe Florida McKee would be embarrassed to call in or something. I don't know. But I know that that's not him because, yeah, I've seen both people, and that shows his face. I think I've seen Florida McKee. Anyways. Cricket Lord, thank you for subscribing. Diane Moses, thank you so much. T. Zimmer, Silver 68420. And again, the other Florida McKee, he's welcome to call too. But I think he doesn't. I think doesn't see much that's going on or outside of his channel because he's focused on creating and not hating. Cameron Combs, again, thank you. To fly through some of this, by the way, so U.S. President B stands with Asia, and he basically vows to stand with them, so whatever you want to call that. And then basically it says that China reacted to what they said on this interview. We talked about the interview about one night or 2 nights ago. Dex, so China basically responded to this interview with Tai Sing-wen and said, no, we're really pissed off, like you just said, and confirmed that there were troops on Taiwan. There were troops there, and she said that their bond was growing daily and all this other stuff. What do you think?
Yeah, when it first came out, it was the Chinese state-run media that made the statement. Now this time it is coming from the foreign ministry, Chinese foreign ministry, but they are absolutely saying, hey, we're reiterating that we're absolutely firm that you should not have any U.S. military in your country. And so this is what we said. We said last night when we announced that she made the statement that they were there, that they're going to turn around and say something back. But the question is it just going to be words right now, or is it going to turn into action? And JB just today or yesterday came out with yet another statement saying he's going to back Taiwan. So, it sounds like the words are getting stronger and going back and forth at a more frequent rate at the moment on a daily basis, as opposed to, once a month kind of thing. Right.
And again, even if people call him Beijing, Bob, I know that together is filtered, right? Even if they call him Beijing Bob, right? And you know what I mean. Like I said, you could have one where they have it orchestrated like a play. Like boom, boom here, troops here, troops die there, troops here. You could have both sides in on a very intricate thing to get something done, to get a very specific result. Don't know, just saying. That is a possibility. Anything is possible nowadays. By the way, we didn't cover it tonight. Just to give you an example, I covered it on Twitter, at Marfoogle. They say that there is a world inside Earth. New science says that the Earth is not what we thought. In the middle, there's soft ground and whatever else, and who knows. They didn't say it was hollow. But they did say that it very well could have a whole nother little world inside the world. So there are things that are officially changing that will be taught in our kids' textbooks that we would be like, are you smoking crack? And then our kids are going to grow up and they're like, I smoke crack. I'm going to go down to my Hollow Earth and grab my metaverse goggles.
Maybe that is the metaverse.
Maybe I was thinking the same thing. Either way, things are changing at just such a fast pace. And then satellite images show China may be using a closed civilian airport to launch Taiwan flights, overflights. Now, Dex, when I first read overflights, basically that because they've been flying all these surveillance things, these surveillance runs, why would this be important that they're using this closed airport for this purpose exactly?
Well, I think maybe they're trying to be a little bit more covert about what they're doing. And maybe this airport offers a little bit more proximity. But they've been launching these flights, numerous flights over and over again. We reported on many of them. And they just seem to get closer and closer and closer to Taiwan, either going into the ADAs or They haven't gone completely past the ADIZ, but they've gotten into it for sure. So yeah, but this is what some people who have been doing research and looking at satellite photos, they've come up and said it looks like this is one of the launching locations.
And it says the October 2020 imagery showed two Zhangzi KQ-200 anti-submarine warfare aircraft on what used to be the civil parking apron with the type's distinctive tail-mounted anomaly detector boom clearly visible. What they're talking about is this up here. Right there, I believe, right? It's got the nose thing, but from the top, they're talking about this thing in picture number 2.
And the thing that sticks off the tail.
You can't really see that in the... Oh, I guess it is long, huh? I thought that was the angle. See, when you look at from the side... Oh, weird. So... Oh, weird. I didn't even... Wow. So what is that one for? That one, is that... That's not... That's like...
It's the anomaly detector. It's part of their detection
I
system.
thought it was...
Okay.
Yeah. I thought it was foreplay related. Okay. Anomaly. Okay, got it.
Yeah, you know, what's his name? SpaceX. They have anomalies.
Tickle? Yeah. Oh, yeah. SpaceX has anomalies when all their spaceships explode. That's a slight anomaly. But you got to remember to put slight there. Slight anomaly. Senior U.S. general warns China's military progress is stunning as U.S. is hampered by brutal bureaucracy. This is now the 5th official that has told us that they have not only just took off, but they've took off to such a point. The DOD employee that I just talked to, not the previous one that told us that we were going to war within 2 years, the one that I just talked to said he could not believe that the red tape that they are running into, and they are trying to work around it as fast as they can. They're preparing for bio events right now, and they have all this red tape. China doesn't have any red tape. This is the problem. They will do these horrible biological things, and when it comes down to it, yes, they pretend for the whole world, they go for the UN, and that they're being good boys and that they follow the rules. But over the last 2 years, I think most of the smarter people realizes that that's not true. Same with the U.S. U.S. Does things that we have done things. By the way, I'm proud to be an American, but I'm not. That doesn't mean you have to be proud of what your government sometimes does. Okay, all these governments have done really shady out there, and I'm talking about really shady stuff. We always point to like Adolf and World War II and Germany and the messed up experimentations that they did. We know that our government played a part in this whole thing with Dr. F and all of this other stuff. So please, we are just as bad in some cases. We have done experiments. We've done, just name a couple here. We have done horrible things. Same with all of these other big countries have done it. Europe, UK, they've done things in their history as well. So one thing that I want you guys to think about is that China has now surpassed us in some ways with the economy. U.S. was always number one. Now, after the last 2 administrations, weird stuff was going, the last 3 administrations, things were going on and things were getting cut, and bills were getting passed to stop paying for protection, stop paying for defenses. Meanwhile, they the whole time had the same capitalism going. In fact, the whole world has now from the year 2000 to 2020, there's maps that showed that the world used to trade with us, the U.S., and this whole map was like blue. It was like who was their main trading partner. And it showed all these countries in the world that was blue. And now you fast forward to 2020, they're all red. Now trading, and their main partner is China. So I guess I'm trying to stress the point. People need to wake up on the whole thing, like China's so far behind. China, meanwhile, now we've had an official in almost every sector say that they are ahead of us. We just had the Pentagon official resign, and he said publicly, he said they have already, it's a done deal. They've got us locked on technology and on AI. You combine that with technology as far as the stuff that they've stolen, as far as the drones go and surveillance and everything else. When the next weapons now are all going to be drones, unless they're bio. And again, we don't have any of that red tape. They don't have the red tape that we have. In the wake of China's test of a hypersonic missile, the second most senior U.S. general said Thursday that the pace at which China's military is developing capabilities is stunning, while U.S. development suffers from brutal bureaucracy. The outgoing vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General John Hyten, echoed Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin's characterization of China as a pacing threat, while calling Russia the most imminent threat. Calling China a pacing threat is a useful term because is at pace at which China is moving is stunning, Hyten told reporters at a defense writers group roundtable Thursday morning. The pace they're moving and the trajectory they're on will surpass Russia and the United States if we don't do something to change it. It will happen, so I think we have to do something. Dex, he just straight up said that we have to do something first. What is something? What are we going to do to stop them? Are we going to take the first strike? Are we gonna end up starting a conflict with them? Are we gonna surprise them and knock down their port? It's a big deal. We have to recognize, and we have to wake up and say, that they're growing their military, they're growing their economy at record paces. I just pulled up the GDP just for reference, and I was looking at, say, 2009. From 2009 to today, the U.S. grew its GDP about $6 trillion. China grew it about almost $10 trillion. So they almost doubled the amount of GDP growth in the same amount of time than the U.S. So they haven't surpassed us. They're close to it. They're at like 14.72 trillion. We're at 20.9, but they're still moving up, and we just took a turn down. I mean, just like that, that's just GDP, right? We're talking about trajectory,
about military, but yeah, they're on a rocket ship sort of hockey stick curve, and they're going to surpass us. And I think that's what they're trying to say. It's not just about GDP.
Well, that's
they're
why
talking military, but all of these things, right? They all come together to mean something.
Well, and that's also why Putin just quoted at this thing last week. He said that they just surpassed the U.S. in purchasing power. So even though we have a greater GDP, they have more money to actually spend and buy. That's what I think he meant by that. Would that be safe to assess?
Well, yeah, they probably have the ability to buy more.
Because we have all these debts. And we're bailing out everybody. I don't know. Ray Santiabanez, thank you so much for subscribing. Casey Reese, again, thank you, everybody that's new. If you are watching the show, or if you're watching the replay, or if you're watching right now and you've gotten this far and you haven't subscribed, what is wrong with you? If you want notifications, make sure to click the bell and click all, and then it will notify you the second we go live.
And Adam, we got about 7 minutes left, and we got a caller.
Yep, let's get Aaron on. Aaron.
Hello.
Aaron, what is going on, and how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
Good. So you're live on Marfoogle News. What are we talking about today? The eel?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the eel thing that you had up there.
Okay. Well,
actually, I just wanted to say first, I grew up in Washington State, in Anacortes, Washington, Skagit County.
Sweet. Nice to meet you.
Yeah. So I was about 25 years ago. I was living in Lake Stephens, and I was a member of the Everett Rock and Gem Club. Okay, and I actually got a jade claim with my uncle there in Snohomish County. Now, there's a creek that runs through our claim. And one day I was walking through the creek looking for some jade, and I come across this green thing. It was about 18, 24 inches long. It looked like a piece of hose is what I thought it was, a piece of hose that was cut. And I pick it up, and it freaked me out. I couldn't believe it. And what it was what you had on the TV. It's called a lamprey. Okay? Lampreys are... So this is what happened. I showed it to my uncle, and he convinced me to get a hold of Fish and Game. And I told them about it, and apparently they had no clue at all that the lampreys were in Washington State. As far as they knew, they were on the West Coast, and apparently there's some trying to get into the Great Lakes. They have some type of a trap that keeps them from going in there. But what they actually do, they're kind of like a leech. They latch on to the side of big fish, like a salmon, and they literally chew a hole through the side of them and eat their innards out.
Oh my gosh. Well, look at its mouth. I've got the picture of it up. It looks like those fake teeth you get at a Halloween store, the vampire plastic teeth, only those are real teeth, and they're on this weird, it looks like a hose. So you've actually seen this in person? Is it as gross and nasty looking in person?
Yeah, I grabbed one. It was dead. It wasn't alive, but it freaked me out when I grabbed it because, I turned it over and that's what I seen. Was that sucker-looking mouth with those round teeth. And they literally chew a hole right through the side of the fish, usually salmon, and they suck the innards out. That's what they eat.
Oh, my gosh. This thing is just absolutely nightmarish.
Yeah.
I wonder why there's not that many of them and why it's so hard to find. Is it because they're
not. That's what I don't understand. Something may have happened in the last 25 years. Now, like I said, the biologists didn't even have a clue that they were on the West Coast. All they knew is they were on the East Coast. I actually watched a documentary about them going up the stream, and there was like a dam, and they were keeping out carp. They were having a problem with carp. That were not from the area, that they were brought in, carp and the lampreys. And the way they actually do it is they do it with electricity. They hang these electric lines through the water at like a dam. Okay, actually it's more like a fish ladder. And the electricity keeps any type of animal from going past it. It's not enough to kill them. It's just enough. It keeps them away. They don't want them to get into the Great Lakes. If they get into the Great Lakes, it would be bad, really, really, really bad, because they'll just take over and eat all the fish.
Well, again, crazy. I mean, the thing is nightmarish. I do want, since we're cutting up at 2 hours, I wanted to make sure that you got out what else you needed. If there was anything else you wanted to say real quick before we cut the stream.
Yeah, I just wanted to say you're doing a really good job. I feel like I know you because I grew up there in Washington, and you're awesome, buddy. You keep it up, and God bless everybody and the whole Marfoogle fam. You're doing a really good job, bud.
Oh,
you're right on point with about 99% of what you talk about, I believe.
Well, I would love to get. I wish you were still here. I think that anybody that's from the Northwest kind of gets. I think there's a lot of people that watch from the Northwest, and a lot of people, once they hear that I'm from Washington, you just know what's going on here. It just feels like, like if you see somebody from Texas and they're from Texas, I'm from Texas, you know what that place is like.
Right.
A lot of the stuff that's going on, the politics, everything that you grew up with, you get it. So, well, thank you so much for calling in. And that is so crazy. I mean, I would not, I couldn't imagine. The thing really actually made me nauseous. I can't even look at this thing anymore. So I'm going to put it big screen so all of you can. Well, thanks, buddy, and it's nice meeting you. Seriously, don't be a stranger. Call in again, okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, I called before a couple years ago. You actually played one of my videos for one of my. I don't know. It was about the moon, but.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No. I see the note there. Well, thank you so much, and you have a wonderful night. Okay.
You too.
All right. Bye. Company 328, thank you, Marf and Dex, for keeping the truth before our eyes. Thank you for the Ninja Guinea. Thank you guys for going above and beyond over there. Again, really good night over there as far as the support and a lot of love being shown. Johnson says, Foogle fam, love and peace to all. We will win this. And then WJS Jen, truth be known. King B33, thank you so much. Rapture Soon 2020, thank you. And then Dex, thank you for your service tonight. The web-only content, a lot of great stuff over there. Great section of stuff.
Over there when the stream cuts in just a second.
Okay. I'm sorry, what was that?
I was just saying we're on Jams, so everybody head over to Marfoogle Jams when the stream cuts in just a second.
Okay. So we are still live on now 2 channels, so it's going to go right into Marfoogle Jams. Thank you, guys. And if you want to join us for the shoutro, definitely have a big a song for Amy R there. Thank you. It's kind of our credits. It's for the people that matter most, you guys.